Welcome back to all of you great-great-great-grandchildren. Today we are going back to the challenges of the 2020s, get down to specific examples, and hear from our panel of diverse voices from around the world. My name is Angelina from the US. With me I have Giannis from Belgium, Morgan from Kenya, and a new guest, Miles from Australia. We live in a period of time that young people are pressured to define themselves early, in terms of personal identity and expression. Would you agree with that? If so, how do you navigate those expectations? Morgan, do you have an answer from us?
Well, personally, I think there's a different definition of being successful in Africa, Europe, and the Americas. In Africa, to be successful, it's not only about your career. You have to own things. You have to own land. You have to own property. You have to own a car. You have to have a family. And right now, living away and growing old, I feel the pressure coming from the society back in Kenya, from my friends, from my family. They're all of the question, when are you getting a wife? When are you going to buy land? When are we seeing you develop? When are we seeing you host us for a certain function? And for me, that makes me really pressured because at the moment I'm still trying to figure out myself. I'm trying to have my feet on the ground. But then the pressures of having other people push you to what you don't want at the moment is something else, because you're then starting to feel depressed in a way. You're starting to feel out of your comfort zone because you have to go out of your way. I moved out of my parents' house when I was 17. Okay, my grandma's house. But the thing is, I had to go out there and study, because it was either you go out there and study or you stay in here and start providing for the family. And the thing is, having to move out really shaped me differently. So I think the pressure of family and society in Africa really gets me hard. Yeah.
Do you feel like there's a part of you that never wants to, you're like, I never want to go back to Africa and have a family. I just want to be single my whole life and live in Europe. Or you're not,
Oh
maybe
my God,
you maybe.
definitely. I would want not to have the pressure. I would want to just live and have just good vibes.
Okay.
But then the thing is, when that call from home just rings, you're like, oh my God, not again. So
It's
yeah.
like kind of like something you can never run away from.
No,
It's some
never.
expectation of your family or people at least you care about in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, they're the people, if you're troubled or anything, they're the first people you call. But at the first point they see you're making a step forward, they're the first people to push you, like, yo, you have to do this.
Right.
Yeah.
They have lots of opinions. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Awesome. Thanks for your answer, Morgan. Miles, do you have a different take on this question?
Yeah, I really think so. For like pressure for me, I feel like it's never really come from my family. It's more like an internal thing. And especially with the internet and social media being like a huge part of my life, and like just opening up YouTube, and I want to be a filmmaker, and just seeing all these people who are like 16, 17, 18 making short films, and like I barely know how to touch a camera. It's like a certain, like, I'm getting older and these people are so far ahead of me already, and like I'm only gonna fall further behind. Yeah, and I don't know. I think there's a certain thing also about like being able to like fend for yourself and earn money and move out. Yeah, I don't really.
That's okay. So it sounds like you kind of have this personal expectation to do these things that you really want to do, like achieve your dreams. And do you feel like you just can't do those things? Or is it just that maybe you haven't found the opportunity? Or is that pressure like so big? Do you feel like a little bit stuck? Like you don't even know where to start maybe?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I just feel like I'm falling behind. Like I just look at the people and the people I look up to. Like all the famous directors, like Tarantino, he was like 20 something when he made Reservoir Dogs, and it's like he just started a part-time job and then made a movie, and I'm at a part-time job, and I'm that age.
IPC is a part-time job,
IPC
maybe a
is a
full-time job. So I don't know, Miles. Maybe after this term, you'll be a director.
And
Who knows?
Tarantino is also a very good person to compare yourself with.
I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. Okay, why don't you start comparing yourself to like me, and you'll feel like a lot better about filmmaking. Like, you know.
But sorry to interrupt, but the question was like, do we feel pressure to define ourselves early? And I don't think that's like really the case, because people overall now these days they graduate a lot later than people used to do. Also, like studying teacher, as my parents did when they were young, that took sometimes 2 years. Well, now it's at least 3 years, and if you want to go for a master, it's at least 4 years. So I feel like society has sort of given us more time to define ourselves, because there's also more options. But at the same time, I think what the question also might suggest is this world also asks you to take a stance in the world today, I think. Because, for example, the last elections in Belgium, you could really see, because the voting age had been decreased to 16. So on television, there was a program where politicians would just go to schools. They would be put in the middle of a whole group of students, and those students would ask them any questions. So society really sort of wanted teenagers to like engage teenagers in the whole political debate, even make them sort of the most important voice of all, because it's their future. So in that aspect, I think indeed you're asked to define yourself more early on, but maybe you're given more time to change your opinion, on different subjects.
Do you personally feel that pressure on yourself to figure it all out yourself, to define yourself, or is that like other people and not me, really?
You mean like is that something that I only observe in other people, that pressure, or do I only also observe it in myself? I think I have a very realistic view on that I'm in this period of my life between, 18 and 30, I think, where the sort of foundation of my life should be laid out. And I'm giving myself that time, and also my parents sort of repeated that a couple of times, like, okay, like now is the time in your life where you can try out many things. So maybe this is the time to, if you want to do something else, maybe this is the time to also try that and that if you want that. But there's also not a limit to that. So there's a lot of costs if you want to try out different things. And they support me, but they also want me to be realistic and want me to provide for myself, at least for some things. Like if I want to live away from home and not stay at home, then I need to find myself a place, and I need to pay my own rent, and I need to pay my own food. But I can stay home if I want to. So yeah, they sort of have a bit of they want to provide a safe place for me where I feel like I'm safe to explore new things, but at the same time they also want me to realize the reality of these days, where the world can be a hard place. So they want me to be prepared for that.
Yeah, I think my parents also kind of have the same idea of providing a safe space, but also want me to be very financially stable and successful in some way. But I think I also feel that myself, in a way that there's just a lot of things that I want to do and places to see and things that I want to achieve. And to do that, I also need to have money, unfortunately. But that's okay. Anyways, thank you all for answering those questions. Changing the topic, I want to ask, how do you define being happy in today's world? Does anyone want to take that question first?
Yeah, well, happiness is has a different measure and a different bar on every person's level. And I feel I can be happy, but at the same time, people want to put their baggage on me to make them happy. Like, you'd want me to make you happy in ways maybe I'm not able to. And I feel as a person of color, it's quite challenging because living in Europe, everyone thinks you're in paradise. Like, I mean, they think you have, you're swimming in money or it snows dollars or something. But the thing is, we have something called black tax in Africa, where you're required to send money back home. The expectation is, as long as you live abroad, you are supposed to help out your younger siblings. You're supposed to help out your parents. You're supposed to send them money. You're supposed to, if they're like, hey, how are you doing? At the end of the call, they expect some money. Like, bye, I'm sending you something. Like, it's something that you're not taught in school, but it's something engraved in your brains always. You have to do it. Living in Europe, my friends think when they have a birthday, I can always be like, hey, do you want to go out? Okay, go and ask the barman and then I'll send everything. But the thing is, they don't know how we are all going through a different place, but at the same time facing the same challenges. And I feel if I show them I'm happy, they'd expect me to make all of them happy. In a way, I have to carry all their baggages. And I feel, in a way, it's unfair. But for the black tax, I don't think I'm escaping that. So, yeah.
Okay, so it's something that you don't particularly like. It sounds like maybe about your culture. Do you feel like it does it come from a place of love maybe, or is it maybe just like expectation and maybe a little bit of like, Morgan is like so rich living in Europe, he should definitely like give me some money because he has so much of it.
Well, it's a little bit of both. When you land in Kenya, even if somebody earns more than you, he'll be like, you're coming from Europe. We have to spend your money first, then we can spend my money. But the thing is, at the same time, I have a budget, you have plans. They put your plans behind and their plans ahead of yours. And I think it's a little bit of both, a place of love and a place of expectations. But for the close family members, I'd say it's more love. Yeah.
Okay.
But I think it's something we just grow with. Yeah.
For a moment, I understood like that there was an official black tax and that the government actually wanted you to sort of send back money to help the economy. But then that raised the question in my head, like, do you feel like this is also institutionally like supported? Like, is there the government, do they hope that there will be an influx of money from people traveling abroad?
Actually, I can say from facts, the government praises people living in diaspora for remitting money back home, as they feel it really pushes the economy up a bit, because when you send back home, that's money more in the economy, and it's kind of untaxed money. So it's directly into the economy, and the government can never stop it. They're like, we're proud of diaspora people. You should send more money. So yeah.
Wow.
Okay. So it's the government and your family and friends. So it's kind of like everyone telling you to
Yeah.
go to Europe and be rich and come back.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I see. All right. And Miles and Giannis, how do you define being happy in today's world?
Well, today's world is sort of, no need to explain that, almost is a very chaotic world. So there's wars, there's Palestine, there's Ukraine, there's climate change, there's a lot of mental health issues, there's loneliness, there's a lot of polarization about everywhere, a big move to the right. So there's a lot of anger and a lot of sadness and fear in society these days. So, yesterday there was this lecture here at IPC from an expert concerning climate change. And that raised me the question, like, okay, we live very much in this age where there's a lot of despair. But then I was thinking of times where the political opinion was more of like, okay, we're making progression. For example, industrialization will make everything better, and we have all of these new techniques and stuff. So that sort of overall public attitude must have been very uplifting, while now we're living in this day and age where it's very depressing. And I think so, if you today claim that, oh, I feel great, I feel happy, it's sort of, you have to add to it despite all of these things happening. You know, like it's sort of almost necessary to say, yeah, I know that there's lots of things that should be improved and it's all bad. But yeah, I'm sorry to say, but I actually feel all right, you know? So it feels like that's sort of a must.
Miles, do you feel the same way, like carrying this baggage of the world and maybe it's not okay to be happy anymore?
Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree with what Giannis is saying. I think, like, from personal experience, it's definitely hard to look at all this stuff happening, like, on the news around the world, and still, like, live your life with a smile on your face. And you can think about, like, Gaza and people's homes are getting bombed, and it's like, you're happy over here, but how are they over there? I don't know. Personally, the way I deal with it is it's probably not the right answer, but I try to avoid a lot of news stuff. I find it really, like, depressing and demoralizing. And I think it's good to educate yourself on what's happening around the world. But from my perspective, I don't know if there's much that I can do personally. And just exposing myself to that much negativity, it's just like, it gets to a certain point where it's a lot, you know? And I prefer to live my life just, like, one step at a time. Like, there's enough issues going on with myself and my own, like, personal life that, like, I just get through my own things and I'll deal with that stuff once I'm like, yeah. But
Yeah, I understand. I feel like it's difficult to both acknowledge the things that are happening in the world and acknowledge that and still try to be happy, because maybe you feel guilty being happy when so many other people are not happy. But I guess at the same time, it's kind of like up to the individual to be happy. And I guess all you can do is kind of try your best to make an influence on the world and try your best. But yeah, I totally get that. Anyways, our time is over now, so thank you all for sharing your wonderful stories and reflections about our times, and thank you for listening, my wonderful great-great-grandchildren. And